What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to be looking at another very exciting new Transformers Wave 2 battle card. Rise of the Combiners, yay! It's a rare card, and we've seen a real trend, deliberately so, as they pointed out in some podcasts. We have seen a real trend here towards trying to make sure that cards which are going to be in every deck are kind of commons and uncommons, which lets everybody make decks, while meaning that a lot of the more specific cards are rare cards, so that these are ones that are only going to be used by some people, so it's slightly less disadvantageous. You've got the cards you really need, and then if you want to go faction specific or type specific or however you would like to phrase it, you can go ahead and do so. So it is called Tackle, and I like it very much indeed. It is a card that has an orange icon, which is fine. It's nice for attacking decks. But what we really like about this, what we're focused on, is the text. Tap one of your untapped melee characters. Tap an untapped enemy character that has the same number of stars or fewer. So what you get to do here is tap one of your opponent's characters at the cost of one of your own. Now, I've seen a few comments around about this card already, basically saying, well, hang on a second, do we need the star restriction? Why can't you just tap one of your characters and then tap one of your opponent's characters without the restriction that your opponent's character that you tap has to have a fewer stars than your own? And the reason is very simple. It'll be massively unfair. So let's take a deck like Devastator. Devastator's coming out at the end of March. Incidentally, I'm psyched. I've done a video about it, link in the description. And essentially here, what would happen is you get Devastator, it's a 6-wide team. It's the only 6-wide team we've got, incidentally, at the moment. So you'd have a 6-wide team, so every time you play this, and they're mostly, not entirely, but they're mostly 4-star characters. So you'd take something like Scavenger, and you would tap it. And then you would tap anything on your opponent's side. So you basically lose a turn of Scavenger. 4 cost, 1 defense, 3 attack. It's alright. It's not stunning. Sure, when you attack in ult mode, you can put a height counter on your tower. But remember, if you've got 5 bots in a team that have this skill, you ain't scrapping 5 cards in quick succession. You're going to run out of cards. So you can afford to tap them. And then in return, you tap your opponent's Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, which is a 13-cost character and has an attack of 8. Or if you really want to get silly with this and show a over-the-top example of why this would never work, Metroplex. Metroplex is a 25-star character, and it's got huge health, and it really is a centerpiece of your deck. And then it's got these little things like Scamper that come out from under it. And being able to tap one of your Constructicons and then tap Metroplex to leave them with something like Scamper, that would be dumb. So we do need the star restriction. I think without the star restriction, this would be unfair and broken in little decks. So the star restriction is there, whether we like it or not. So is this worth it? And it's a kind of a weird thing. Because once you put the restriction in, you're basically saying, I am going to get rid of one of my characters for this round at the same time as getting rid of one of yours. Okay? It really depends on what you're worried about. So let's take something like Arcee. Arcee to me seems like a classic example of a bot that you would just want to stop here. Because Arcee has PS equal to her attack. So if you're playing a full defensive deck, you probably feel pretty confident about dealing with almost any attacker around, but you're probably really worried about Pierce. Doesn't matter how tough your characters are, doesn't matter what your defense is. If your opponent is going Pierce, they're going to get through whatever you've got there. For that reason, you're probably going to be worried about Arcee. So Arcee's only a 5-cost character. So what you do is you tap one of your characters, and there are very few that are lower than 5. So you tap one of your characters, you tap Arcee, and hopefully you can do this regularly enough that you just stop Arcee ever really having a plan, or you tap her and then KO her. And see, That's the other thing we need to talk about here. Because the general rule of the game, there are exceptions, like when there's no tapped characters. But the general rule is you cannot attack untapped characters. You have to, if able, attack tapped characters. So this is awesome. If there's a character that you really want to attack, let's say Insecticon Scrapnel, your opponent is going to recognize that in a lot of games and go, right, I'm not attacking with Insecticon Scrapnel till I have to, because if I don't attack with it, I can keep it untapped, and if I keep it untapped, you can't attack. So you come in with Tackle here, and then all of a sudden you are tapping Scrapnel, and as soon as you tap Scrapnel, Scrapnel is fair game, ladies and gentlemen. You can then go after Scrapnel and try KOing Scrapnel, and then that's brilliant. And that is one of the best uses for this. You can attack a character that you otherwise wouldn't be able to attack. Now, you can also stop a character like we talked about with RC, but this allows you to disrupt the natural order of turns. It allows you to go after a character faster than your opponent would usually want you to. It allows you to take down a character sometimes a fair bit faster than you should be able to. But the other thing it does here is stall. You can just stop your opponent KOing your characters quick enough. And there are plenty of characters where stalling can really, really help them. And two of the ones that come to mind for me here are two that I keep trying to put into a deck together. It is Nemesis Prime and Autobot Cosmos. Nemesis Prime, when you run out of deck, you get to put a random card or a bottom card from your scrap pile under your deck. Although it will be kind of random. And then you get +3 attack for each card under it, as long as you're in bot mode. And then we take Autobot Cosmos. When you reshuffle your deck while attacking, you get to KO whatever you're attacking as long as it's got 12 stars or fewer. So this essentially means that both of those characters benefit greatly from running out of your deck and shuffling it back in. So the faster you can run through your deck, or I suppose to put it another way, the more often you can run through your deck, the greater advantage you are going to have. Well, this is a card that slows your opponent down. This is a card that blocks your opponent from attacking for a turn or two and buys you extra time. What do you do with that extra time? You draw more cards and you run through your deck and you get a little bit further towards going through your deck. You keep your characters alive for that little bit longer. I like this card. There are many, many uses for this card. But I should at this stage go back to that caveat we talked about at the beginning. It is only for melee characters. You can tap whichever character you like of your opponent as long as it's got the same number of stars or fewer. But you've got to tap one of your melee characters. So we're back to this situation of it's not going to work for everything. Nemesis Prime, melee character. You're rolling. Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, it's a ranged character. That's a bit more annoying. Playing Dinobots and playing Grimlock. I mean, to be honest, you probably wouldn't tap Grimlock anyway because Grimlock's got the redonk ability. But you never know. You could. And then you tap it, and then you're golden. But there are plenty of decks where you're not playing melee characters. And when you're not playing melee characters, you can't even play this, so you lose out on that. Let's take something like Megatron Arrogant Ruler, one of my favourite characters from Wave 2 that we've seen so far. It's a ranged character in both modes, you ain't tapping it to use this. But then that just goes back to deck building. You are going to be able to play this in melee decks and not play it in melee decks. But maybe we even go a step further here. Maybe when selecting the characters in our deck, maybe if we've got a choice between a couple of characters, we end up going for a melee character so that we can take advantage of this. Great example here, there are a bunch of 5-star cars in Wave 1. So we've got Bumblebee Brave Warrior. Bumblebee Brave Warrior is a melee character, and it's a 6-cost car. Now, generally speaking, I'm a bit more of a fan of Prowl, another 6-cost car from Wave 1. The thing is, Bumblebee is a melee character in both modes, and Prowl is ranged in bot mode and a specialist in alt mode. There's no melee there. So maybe if I'm playing a deck and I want to take advantage of tackle here, I end up going Bumblebee Brave Warrior over Prowl so that I can tap it to tap one of my opponent's characters. This is another one of those cards that we've seen quite a lot of in Wave 2, where it's not just an I'm going to play it, yay! It's an am I playing enough melee characters? What benefit am I going to get from tapping? Which character am I going to be tapping? If I'm expecting to be tapping a 6-cost character, how many characters of 6 or below am I really going to take advantage of here, etc, etc, and it introduces all of those decisions and awkward things, which I adore. That makes games like this more fun. So ladies and gentlemen, this is an awkward card to use, but you can really swing it in your favour if you do. For now, I would like to know if it's going to swing it in your favour, or at least, do you think it's going to? Go nuts in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk, well, Transformers and a whole bunch of other games. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.